Welcome my friends, this is Maniacal Incorporated, and this is a video I never expected to make. The war is over. The Murchad controversy has ended. A peace accord has been signed by the majority of the major participants. An international team of diplomats and former military officials have begun to oversee the decommissioning of draft tweets and draft PDX forum posts, and individuals who were involved in the controversy in a militant or a violent capacity have begun to return to normal life, to come out into the open and to recount tales of the events that they took part in. What exactly is the Murchad controversy? A couple of years ago I made a video on how a misreading of a very important but very difficult, I don't think it'll show up, a very important but very difficult text, Irish Kings and High Kings by Francis J. Byrne. A misreading of the tables in that led to Murchad MacDonagh being erroneously added to CK2 as the King of Munster, and this thing got carried across over into CK3. It wasn't really a big deal. Nobody was really... A couple of people were calling for Murchad to be removed from the game and for Toirdelbach to be added in his place, the historical ruler from 1063, but really it didn't make all that much of a difference. I said that I kind of liked how this book, written in 1973, was misread sometime in the early 2000s. The wrong character was put into an inconsequential part of the map, and then they became the most important character in the entire game by pure coincidence. It was the fact that they were the major power on what became Tutorial Island. So that was a kind of a fun little story. And that's really where it stayed until early this year with the Legends update for Crusader Kings 3. And this is really the birth of the Murchad controversy. So here we can see some of the promotional material they made. A new Murchad. Prior to this, he was ugly on the inside. Now he's ugly on the outside as well. And I have this thread that I'll link below in the description, which kind of goes through the details in a bit more detail. And we can see I have some of the tables here if you actually want to see them and see how the mistake was made day one. But the major issue was that they were creating 5 new legendary starts for each of the 5 lifestyles in CK3. So diplomacy, martial, stewardship, fire, and heart. And there was going to be a historical figure associated with each of these. And Murchad was the one that was going to be associated with diplomacy. Now, a lot of people argued that this was a fantastic opportunity to cycle Murchad out of the game and put Toirdelbach in there. The other thing was that they started doing things like, we can see it here, historical fact, Petty King Murchad, and there at the end is... he ruled as King of Munster until his death in 1068. So we know for a fact that that is not true. We know as a historical fact that that is not true. So people kind of felt a bit uneasy about the fact that Paradox, the devs, the team behind CK3, they know that this is a mistake. It's been pointed out that Murchad's presence is a mistake. They have an opportunity, there's no real need to correct it, but now that you're going down this kind of historical route, this would be a good opportunity to correct it, instead of barreling through head down, hoping that the whole thing will just blow over. I think that's what they kind of hoped more so than anything. We're just going to push through with Murchad, keep him in the game. It's probably going to take a lot of effort to redo the main tutorial. That's kind of what a lot of people have thought, is that's the reason that they didn't want to remove Murchad, is because of the amount of work. But putting him in and making ahistorical claims like this, it felt really strange. It felt like Paradox was just hoping to put its head down and barrel through the whole thing. Now what's happened instead is that the Murchad controversy has not died down at all in the aftermath of the Legends update. It's probably gotten worse. One of the first things that happened was that when the patch notes came out, it described how new events had been added for all of the historical leaders. But a couple of people over on the forums realized that Murchad wasn't involved for some reason. So these were people who didn't know that Murchad hadn't been the king, that there were no events because he never ruled for there to be any real history to base events off of. People who didn't know that, they thought this was a mistake. They thought that the devs had accidentally forgotten to put Murchad in the patch notes. Some people started the game as Murchad, didn't find any events and couldn't understand why that was, and people were creating posts asking, why doesn't Murchad get any events? And I made this little meme. Yeah, why doesn't Murchad get any events? What's up with that? So that created more conversation around the whole topic, and people responded that the reason Murchad doesn't get any events is because he was never the historical ruler. People argued that the Legends update would be a fantastic time to cycle Murchad out and add Toirdelbach. And then the Landless gameplay feature was announced, and people said, well, that's a fantastic opportunity to replace Murchad with Toirdelbach, to cycle Murchad out, have Toirdelbach as the starting ruler, have Murchad as Landless, which is the historical conditions in 1066. He's 2 years away from getting killed in a minor skirmish outside the borders of Munster, but maybe he can, you can guide him and change all that, and he can overthrow Toirdelbach and defeat this usurper and restore his father's kingdom and take control of it. So that's what people started talking about over on the PDX forums, and there's probably been more discussion around Murchad and Toirdelbach since Legends came out than there was during the actual release of Legends. So we're now just a few weeks away from the release, are we? I actually have no idea. I haven't been paying attention. I have no idea when Landless is out. It's coming out soon. I think it's in September. And again, people have started putting forward suggestions for how to deal with the Murchad controversy. And Riadach, I think it's Riadach, it might be Riada, I've always said Riadach, has put up a fantastic suggestion in the last couple of days. Brilliant account. Anytime I see a post from them, I'm reading it. A fantastic body of knowledge on Irish history. Has some really, really great posts. During the Murchad controversy, which is what I'm calling it, there was a thread and somebody linked Riadach to a conversation that they had had about 10 years ago during the development of Crusader Kings 2. And this person asked Riadach, what's after happening in Munster? Why has Toirdelbach, the Crusader Kings 1 ruler, been replaced with Murchad? And Riadach was like, I don't know, it's interesting. Who knows? I'm sure it's nothing massive. I'm sure we won't still be talking about this in 10 years' time. So this is something that was noticed a really long time ago. But Riadach also has a great post from a while back. Some fantastic contributions to the project Caesar, the Tinto Talks diary on Ireland that came out recently. Some fantastic stuff there. And when the very first images of Ireland came out, these grainy images, Ireland off in the corner and these little lines around the place, Riadach took that and started trying to figure out where all the territories were going to be. So some really great content, a great contributor to the forum. They have a fantastic solution here based on the Landless gameplay to make Toirdelbach Landless. An interesting take. I hadn't thought of this. I haven't seen anyone else suggest this previously. You're going to make Toirdelbach Landless. So you're going to have Murchad continuing on, because they're not going to remove him. Toirdelbach is going to be made Landless, and a couple of years later than happened historically, Toirdelbach can fight to seize control of Munster. Riadach seems to be of the opinion that, so there's a couple of different variants on this. I am of the camp that Donncha was deposed in 1063 and died, then went on pilgrimage to Rome and died there in 1064. I know Bart Yaski has his date of death as 1065. Riadach, I feel, is of the opinion that he went on pilgrimage in 1064 and died, and then Toirdelbach seized control of Munster. And possibly that Murchad actually gained power after him, and that Toirdelbach fought against him. So if that is Riadach's opinion, that Murchad ruled for a period of time, that then basically you're recreating the historical conditions. You're recreating the full historical conditions maybe about 2 years later than they actually happened. So that was their suggestion. And then, shortly after that, we had the Dev Diary, the 152 Landless Adventurers Dev Diary, which was put up by Wokeg. So this came out about a week and a half ago now. At this stage, I didn't actually spot this until a couple of days ago, but Toirdelbach basically, in answer to a call for questions from Wokeg, suggested, while we're here, Toirdelbach, prospective, actual King of Munster, will he be made landless in the Landless update? And put a link to the suggestion that they had made about making him landless and why you should do it and what the benefits would be. And Wokeg responded, and basically, totally unexpectedly, dropped a fully negotiated and worked out peace treaty onto the table, and then dropped the mic onto the table after it. Here is Wokeg's solution to the Murica controversy. So it's a stunning piece of text. It's a stunning post from a point of view of somebody who's been following this for a couple of years and all the ups and downs. So, in response to Toirdelbach's question, will Toirdelbach be made landless? Wokeg said he's not. They're pretty committed to Murica occupying that spot these days as King of Munster. He's got 1 billion tutorials as the starting dude, and the actual in-game tutorial that it need updating, plus the Legends of CK update. So this was something that I had pointed out when I made the video years and years ago, when there was the tutorial, that people had gotten confused in CK2 when they updated the names in Ireland from English names to Irish, so we'll say Desmond to Desvuin and stuff like this. It caused absolute havoc and anarchy. So if you were to replace Murchad with Toirdelbach, people's brains exploding everywhere. The player base would be decimated. Now, on top of that, what's happened since is that you have the Legends of CK update. So they'd have to do something with that. And this is something that people have pointed out for a very long time, is that at this stage they have sunk so much time and effort and development resources into Murica that they pretty much can't remove him. And it's kind of one of the reasons why they've kept quiet about this whole issue all along and they don't really talk about it. They can't remove him. They won't remove him. However, it could have ended there, but it didn't. So Wokeg says that they shouldn't constrain an obvious historical correction largely for approachability, and that what they have done is they have added a game rule for toggling between, if you'll pardon the indulgence, historical and classic modes. Classic is the default vanilla, you keep Murica. Historic puts Toirdelbach in his rightful place, fudges the stats around to be a bit more reflective of the historic condition, and if you selected playing as Murica, it tags you into Toirdelbach instead, and then Murica is dumped into a swamp. And he said that's the best that they could do. Figured it's not a big deal for everyone. I don't think it is, but it matters to Wokeg. So it's there for other folks who'd like it corrected in vanilla without having to download a mod just to fiddle around with that. I think the Tip Volume 2 mod is the only one that's actually put in Toirdelbach. And there's a lot of reasons beyond just Toirdelbach to download the Tip Volume 2 mod. I'm playing through that at the moment as Meath in the 867, a historically accurate 867 start, so the Irish Kings and High Kings. Another misreading of the table of the Kings of Meath put Flanchina in 867, whereas he doesn't actually rule until 877, so I'm doing a historically accurate playthrough at the moment, thanks to the Tip Volume 2 mod. But basically what we're going to see is a new game rule added, and you'll be able to go in there and activate Toirdelbach. Toirdelbach is actually making it into the base game. So we've had devs, or mods that we could do this in for ages, but we're now actually going to have a chance to play as Toirdelbach in the base game. And it's more the vibe that I'm appreciative of here, as opposed to the actual chance. I don't think anyone's going to turn on that mode. I don't think it's going to make a big change. I think this is the perfect amount of work and effort to deal with the scenario. So it's not the optimal solution. Optimal solution would be Toirdelbach, one game mode, Toirdelbach, and Murica as Landless, and You could start as Murchad and try and retake the kingdom, or continue on as Toirdelbach and have fun. That would be, for a lot of people, I think, the optimal solution. But I think here, considering all the difficulty outlined at the very top, that this is the best that can be done, the best that will be done. And I don't think anything further is going to come of this until Crusader Kings 4. But anyway, you know me. You know that if left to my own devices, I would spend the whole rest of the day ranting and raving about this topic. And we all have more important things to do. I have coffee, more coffee to drink. There's not enough coffee drank today. So I'm going to leave it there, possibly for the last time ever. Are we ever going to see the whole Murchad Toirdelbach situation addressed ever again? Not too sure. I might do a video on Toirdelbach at some stage, just a concentrated video on Toirdelbach, because I have one on Murchad. I might do an update to that one on Murchad, because there was a couple of things in there, a couple of mistakes I made that I have to own up to at one stage. I put a picture of Francis J. Byrne into the video. Francis J. Byrne, professor at University College Dublin. So I put a picture in there of Francis J. Byrne, professor at UCD, but it wasn't Francis J. Byrne. It was actually a picture of Francis J. Byrne, professor at UCD. There was two of them, two Francis J. Byrnes who were professors, and I put in the wrong one. And I was even wondering at the time, like, how is this picture black and white? And he looks so old in this picture, because he didn't pass away until the early 2000s. So I had the wrong Francis J. Byrne in there. And also, I initially thought that the error was a result of Wikipedia, that they took. So Wikipedia sources this book, and I thought that the Paradox devs had then, or whoever was doing the research, had come along and taken it from Wikipedia. I now think they took it directly from the book, that they had a copy of the book because of the Flanchina issue as well. It's a convoluted one. Do you know what? It might be the topic for another video. But there we go. It's probably the last time I'll actually address it. The Murchad controversy has ended. There is peace in our time. It's maybe not the optimal solution. It's maybe not the one that we all wanted. I know that Toirdelbach is very approving of it in the post that they made in response to Woke Egg. Yeah, I can't fault it. I can't disagree. Again, I'm just really happy with the vibe. That's all that I've ever focused on, is, you know, preventing this. Ruled as King of Munster until his death in 1068. We know that that's not true. And preventing erroneous misrepresentations of Irish history, because it's not just there in the kind of the factual stuff, it also occurs in some other areas. And I'll be making videos on those going forward, on things like the succession laws, and on the High Kingship, and on this concept of Ireland as fractal island. The game has suffered a bit, or I won't say the game has suffered, but Ireland has suffered a bit, as a need to keep Ireland as Noob Island. So one of the things that people have pointed out of recent, and this has become very clear with the Project Tinto maps, the maps that were put up, the population maps of Ireland and Scotland. In the medieval era, in the 1000s, Ireland and Scotland had a comparable population, if not Ireland having a larger population. But in the game, Scotland has almost double the amount of counties that Ireland has, and this is done to make Ireland easier for new players. And a lot of people who play or see my videos on the Tip Volume 2 mod are impressed by the number of counties and just the gameplay options that it brings through. So Ireland has suffered as a result of needing to keep it noob friendly. And I was thinking that maybe the Legends of CK update was an attempt to break away from having Murchad as the tutorial character, possibly in preparation way down the line for getting rid of him in Crusader Kings 4, which would be a bit of a terror, because this channel most certainly has gotten its views and its followers from the fact that Ireland has become so associated with being the starting ground for new players in any Paradox game. So any new Paradox game people are going to be talking about, the first thing I'm going to do is play as Ireland, because they've gotten Ireland down in CK2, they've gotten Ireland down in CK3, Tinto, Project Caesar, it's Stellaris 2. We all know it's Stellaris 2. They're going to start in Ireland there because it's what they know, it's what they're used to, and there's always calls for actual event trees and stuff to be added to Hearts of Iron 4. People were really excited about the recent Ireland update to Kaiserreich and stuff like that. So yeah, this channel exists purely off of the back of Murchad. I think it's fair to say this channel only exists because Murchad became the tutorial character in CK2 by pure coincidence. So thanks, Murchad. Thanks for everything. I'll be glad to see the back of you. What do you think? Are you gonna play as Toirdelbach? Are you gonna click on that little option in the game rules to change from classic to historic mode and play as Toirdelbach? Are you happy to see a conclusion, but you're not really pushed? You don't really care? What do you think? Engage below. Type random things in the comment section. Downvote the video. It's all engagement for the YouTube algorithm. Blessed be its name. Thank you for joining me on this episode, and thank you for your involvement in the wars of Murchad and Toirdelbach.